Over the past 2 decades, what we see when we look at an AR-15 has definitely changed. There's no doubt in that. Sure, the bones are still there, but there was an extremely violent explosion of innovation that was eventually matched by a possibly even more violent explosion of criticism. And that's where Tundra was born, folks.
God help us all.
There was a time before these 2 explosions eclipsed when the market was the modern-day equivalent of the Wild West, if the Wild West was flooded with a surplus of LSD and garbage. If we travel back to the year 2000, we enter into a time where civilian ownership of the AR-15 exists, but it's not even close to the levels that we see today. It's barely noticed by most people. This was a time where dial-up internet made it take entirely too long to download pictures of naked ladies, leaving practically no extra time to look at pictures of other people's ARs.
What do we do now? What do you mean?
This meant that almost nobody had any idea what other people were doing to trick out their AR-15s, and there was really no AR envy that encouraged people to build, buy, or modify their rifles so they could flex on each other, which, let's be honest with ourselves here, folks, that's the entire reason why we do it. This was essentially the Dark Ages when all ARs had fixed buttstocks, carrying handles, 20-inch barrels, and polymer handguards. Now I get it. Thinking about this is essentially the equivalent of watching that dusty old VHS tape that your dad hid in the suspended ceiling in the basement that had more bush than the White House Rose Garden in 2005. But please, try not to vomit. It's important to remember that there was the Clinton-era assault rifle ban. Which wasn't so much a ban on assault rifles themselves as it was a ban on all the parts that make a modern sporting rifle Superfly. Can we get a fact check on if the kids are still using Superfly? This ban actually didn't have any noticeable effect on the manufacturing numbers of the AR-15 at the time. It just made them manufactured without bayonet lugs and correct magazine capacities. So little up, little down here, folks. During this time, the only real accessory you could get for the AR-15 was an upgraded trigger. Then 2004 happened and this ban reached its sunset. Yes! All of a sudden, you were re-allowed to have more than 2 objectively good features built into your semi-auto rifles. Some people thought this was a pretty cool move. Other people took it as an all-access ticket to the accessory version of Golden Corral on a Sunday. The years of 2004 to 2010 were the year the memes were born.
Oh my sweet Jesus.
The US military finally started dumping those boring-ass handguards in favor of quad rails. Well, I forgot about that. This meant that global war on terror veterans were coming home, buying ARs, and knowing that they definitely needed that +10 carry weight perk that they were used to having while serving. Now, there was a common belief during this time that if you had 14 inches of Picatinny rail space on your rifle, you should be using 14 inches worth of accessories on said rifle. It didn't really matter what you installed. If there was a place to slap something on there, it got slapped on. Optics, lights, vertical grips, angled foregrips, backup sights, angled foregrips installed backwards, backup sights to the backup sights that were also installed backwards, bipods, taxacs, you name it. If you could dream it, rest assured that somebody figured out a way to make a Picatinny rail attachment for it and market it as tactical.
Why are you the way that you are?
In an attempt to make an AR-15 with 25 pounds of crap attached to a rifle financially accessible to the target market, which of course was dumb people who did whatever Soldier of Fortune magazine told them to do, there was also an explosion of value-built AR-15s. Here we go.
Wow, this is garbage. You actually like this?
People realized that the specs for AR-15s were open source, and it was also incredibly easy to buy AR receivers from an existing forge that would stamp whatever ridiculous garbage I dropped my remote that you wanted on the sides. All of the sudden, if you wanted to buy an AR, you didn't have to pay Colt prices or scour auction-style websites to find somebody's clapped-out rifle and pay twice as much as they did to join the club. It became possible, not necessarily a good idea, to spend less than 500 American pesos to have a brand new Rudy Tooty Fresh and Shooty in your hands. Due to the fact that the AR market quickly became a place where hundreds of brands were buying parts from maybe a dozen manufacturers, assembling them, and slapping their own logo on the box, it really was a crapshoot on whether or not your rifle was going to be worth half a shit or not. Many of these fly-by-night, Manufacturers didn't last long because they were either bought out by a bigger company or completely shunned into oblivion for selling hot garbage packed as military-grade weaponry, which, as it turns out, can also still be hot garbage.
No way.
Shameless self-promotion time! Hey, if you guys are fans of the live show that we do on Saturday nights, we just wanted to remind you that we are moving over to Twitch this week, where we stream 7 days a week. Show up at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time and come watch us make asses of ourselves live this time, play some games, and wreck your liver. Trust me, it's a good time. Until you wake up in the morning.
It's a trap.
The next step of the evolution of the AR-15 nobody really expected, but caused the market to correct itself. The advent of readily accessible high-speed internet paired with social media changed the game forever, as I'm sure we all know. People began posting pictures of their monstrosities to share with the world.
Behold, my stuff. I'm particularly fond of these.
These unsuspecting ultimate asshats went onto the internet seeking admiration and validation. However, what they were met with became much, much uglier. Shame and criticism came pouring into the comment section of websites like FaceSpace, Instagram, and Twitter. Even one of the bastions of safety that most AR shooters took refuge in, AR15.com, became a place of ridicule, and it didn't really matter what you owned. You have a minimalist AR? Well, you're not maximizing the versatility and modularity of your rifle. Clone of the rifle that you carried in Baghdad? Why do you need all that crap on your rifle, kiddo? You'll never be able to handle that in combat. A sensible hunting or target shooting rifle. Your optic is trash. You should have bought XYZ brand, you fucking lowlife. Then sometime after 2010, some smart people thought, what if instead of making more things to put on a rifle, we started improving the things that already exist? Seems like a solid play. This may or may not have been the result of literally zero things existing that hadn't been made to interface with a quad rail. Aluminum keymod and M-LOK handguards started to enter the market, and this allowed you the ability to put as much crap you wanted on your rifle while still resulting in a lighter weight AR with a much more comfortable purchase for your support hand. This led to a time where the trend moved towards making rifles as light as possible. Of course, just like everything else, when somebody comes up with an idea that's even remotely good, well, it's beaten into the ground. Skeletonized receivers, skeletonized bolt carriers, skeletonized pistol grips, fluted barrels. All these things took the idea of a lightweight rifle to the extreme that the AR was never meant to reach. Basically, the AR-15 market was being treated as if the rifles were sold by the gram. Soon, much of this fad was also ridiculed into oblivion where it belongs. Unfortunately, there are still some remnants of these dark days carried forward in the competition market or with polymer hybrid receiver sets. Fun fact, I quit working at gun stores because of the amount of people that just could not be convinced the ATI Omni wasn't the best rifle out there. The latter half of the last decade led many gun manufacturers and internet gun experts to find their way to a relatively happy medium where the AR-15 felt like the rifle it was meant to be. Relatively lightweight without compromising reliability, a reasonable LPVO or a red dot system, and 1 or 2 extra doodads to show some personality. There are still outliers that will always exist, but it feels like most people can look at a rifle and honestly say,
Not bad, not bad.
that is, except for us. Of course, there is still room for innovation. 80% lower receivers are an exciting addition, and we hope that they aren't legislated into oblivion. AR pistols are also great, and there seems to be this weird race on who can make the smallest AR. Once again, as long as the ATF can keep their sandwich clamps away from the keyboard, we will get to see what can be innovated from these. And we'd be remiss not to mention the fact that people are always finding new and interesting ways to fit different calibers into the AR platform. People are even creating new calibers to modify the capabilities of this rifle. All of these are fantastic, especially the 224 Valkyrie. Damn it. Eric, can you please stop making me say stuff like this? Thanks for watching, folks. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to check out these 2 cripplers right here. And don't forget to hang out with us on Saturday over on Twitch at twitch.tv/Tundra Gaming Live, and join us next week when we still don't know what the fuck we're doing. Bye.